Hello, everyone, and welcome to another of our Between Chords talks organized by Orchestra Vitae with the great support and sponsorship of the Spanish Embassy in London. As always, my name is Pablo Urbina, and I'm the principal conductor of Orchestra Vitae, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to the fifth talk of this series. We've been for over a month now sharing a little bit of insight into Spanish music and some of the composers, some of the soloists, some of the wonderful people around the world of classical music of today and the past in Spain. I wanted to, as always, make a quick mention that these talks are made live on Facebook and before on YouTube, precisely so that you can take part on them. So I'm going to go ahead and put, as always, in the comment section, which you should find near this video, a place where you can ask any questions, make your comments, and as always, you can sign up to the Orchestra Vitae's mailing list if you want to stay up to date on the different activities that we are organizing now during these strange times that we're all living. And then, of course, as always, once that we resume normal live concerts, which is something that we're all looking forward to. Today's talk is slightly different because we do have a guest and we also have a performance live, but we have done all of them pre-recorded because our esteemed guest for today, which is Koldo Pastor, one of the most distinguished composers of Spain currently. He is not as good with English as one will probably need to conduct an interview live. So we met a couple of days ago and we chatted about the topic of today, which is Manuel De Falla's 7 popular songs, as well as a little bit about his compositional career, his compositional techniques, how he feels about composing, and all things in general about composition. It was an absolute pleasure. Koldo Pastor is someone that I'm very honored to call my friend. We've known each other for many, many years. He's been a fundamental part in my career development, and I owe to him a great debt for his wisdom, for his knowledge, for teaching me so many things about this profession that I love so much. I don't want to take too much time because the best thing about today will be, of course, to listen to him speaking, as well as the Orchestra Vitae players that will be performing the seven popular songs at the end of this talk. But I wanted to give you a little bit of a background on him before I go ahead and play you one of his pieces and then the interview. Koldo Pastor was born in Pamplona, where he started his musical career at the Pablo Sarasate Conservatory. I think I have not yet mentioned that Pablo Sarasate, one of perhaps the most famous violinists of all times, is actually from my hometown, from Pamplona. So a lot of the musical institutions of the town and of the state have his name, like the Pablo Sarasate Conservatoire, the Pablo Sarasate Violin Competition, which happened for the last time in 2015, but it had been going regularly for many, many years, alongside many other institutions. Just like last week, we talked about Jesus Guridi and how the conservatoire in Vitoria, where he was born, bears also his name. So Koldo Pastor studied at the Pablo Sarasate Conservatory. He would then go on to study counterpoint and fugue in the Donostia Conservatoire, and also harmony, composition, and pedagogy at the Zaragoza Conservatoire. Among his most important teachers, we can name Agustín González Acilu, which he will mention later on in the interview, and Ramón Barce. He has created ensembles like the chamber ensemble Paulino Otamendi or Iruñaeko Taldea, and has been director of the Orfeón Pamplonés, which is a wonderful choral ensemble, currently directed by another wonderful friend of mine, Igor Ijurra, which is a wonderful choral conductor. He also conducted the Coral de Cámara de Pamplona, or the Choir of Deep Voices of Pamplona. His music has been heard all over the geography of Navarra with ensembles such as the Navarra Symphony Orchestra or the Pamplonesa Wind Ensemble. And his music has also been heard in many other places, including London with the London City Orchestra. His music is published by Real Music and CM Editions and has been recorded on several occasions. His Martenot method, applying the teaching of harmony, has been subject of several studies in Spain. I'm going to show you now a clip from one of his music, which is called Sutara for voices, as it could not be any other way, since we will learn later on how much he likes this ensemble. This is now Sutara from Koldo Pastor, and I hope that you enjoy. This was just a tiniest snippet of Koldo Pastor's Sutara, a piece for choral ensemble. And without further ado, I want to introduce the interview that I conducted a couple of days with Koldo Pastor. It is subtitled in English so that anyone that is not a Spanish speaker can follow along without a problem. And I really hope that you enjoy as much as I did conducting this interview here for all of you for the last time. Let me put a picture so that you can know who you're about to meet. This is Koldo Pastor at the old Pablo Sarasate Conservatoire in Spain. And I hope that you enjoy this interview. Koldo, it's an absolute pleasure having you in this Between Chords talk today. Not only you are one of the most esteemed composers of our geography, but also someone that I very much consider a great friend. So I welcome you to this show. How are you, Koldo?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you. The first thing that I wanted to talk to you today has to do a little bit about the composition process, you know, how a composer starts writing, what is the type of things that you might think of, where you draw inspiration from, and also the type of writing that you do. Koldo, if you had to describe your compositional style in one sentence, how would you define it?
Bien, aunque la palabra neoclasicismo defina un estilo de forma un tanto imprecisa y se aplica a estilos muy diversos, mi música, o más bien muchas de mis obras, se podrían incluir en esta ambigua definición. Los compositores, así como en otros campos del arte, tenemos una especie de ADN estético, un ADN que responde a nuestra cultura, a nuestra experiencia musical, educación, y es fruto de todas ellas. Las obras musicales reflejan de manera intuitiva todos los condicionantes que implica este citado ADN estético. Bien es verdad que las definiciones estilísticas habría que referirlas siempre a cada obra en particular y no tanto al autor, pues la mayoría de los compositores han pasado por estilos diversos, como es mi caso. Yo fui, por ejemplo, alumno de Agustín González Acilu, y a pesar de su influencia, mi estilo compositivo difiere mucho del suyo.
Koldo, you have written symphonies for wind ensemble, concertos for soloists and orchestras, choral and chamber music pieces. You have basically written for every single possible combination of instruments throughout your career. Is there any formation with which you feel more comfortable writing for? Is it your inspiration that dictates which type of ensemble you write for, or are you bound by the group that commissions you for a specific work? And also on this topic, one more question. Do the commissioning ensembles in a way reduce your amount of creative freedom?
Pues dado que mi instrumento preferido es la voz humana, quizás la música coral sería mi forma preferida. Si bien últimamente mis composiciones son principalmente orquestales. ¿Por qué? Pues porque la paleta tímbrica es enormemente amplia y por ello es muy atractiva para el compositor. La formación elegida para cada composición está en función de factores bastante diversos y con frecuencia es o bien por un encargo o por experimentar con un conjunto instrumental de músicos conocidos y que son de mi máxima garantía y calidad. Los encargos, en mi caso, la verdad es que nunca constriñen la libertad creativa, excepto, lógicamente, en lo referente a la plantilla instrumental. Aunque en ocasiones es necesario ceñirse a un guión o temática específica por deseo expreso de quien encarga la obra, pero siempre el margen de libertad es amplio, pues la música es un lenguaje abstracto y siempre da mucho juego creativo a pesar de los citados condicionantes.
I'm very happy to hear that that the fact that sometimes you have to write for specific ensembles doesn't mean that you feel like you don't have creative freedom. And I think that perhaps a lot of composers also feel this way, and that is the beauty about your job and your profession. Actually, one of my favorite pieces of yours is a saxophone concerto with a saxophone and wind ensemble. And before we continue, you will allow me, I wanted to show our audience a little snippet of it. Here it is, Koldo Pastor's saxophone concerto for soloist and wind ensemble. Enjoy. Thank you so much, Koldo, for this piece. It's absolutely beautiful. And I particularly like, I must say, that you really know how to write for the saxophone. It's truly a piece very idiomatic for the instrument. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about this concerto for saxophone?
El concierto de saxo es un concierto muy especial porque me lo encargó un buen saxofonista amigo mío y cuando lo hice lo que procuré es, y además así resultó ser, utilizar los instrumentos variados de la familia del saxofón, de tal manera que el primer movimiento es con el saxo tenor, el segundo es con el saxo contralto y el tercero es con el saxo contralto y el saxo soprano. Entonces es un concierto en el que hay necesidad de utilizar la familia completa, que es la que este buen instrumentista domina perfectamente, claro. Por otra parte, lo hice en 3 movimientos, que es muy clásico, por lo menos el planteamiento formal, pero sin embargo el planteamiento instrumental de la banda y la forma de escritura es un poco más contemporánea, vamos a decir así, pero yo creo que define bastante bien mi estilo de composición. De todas maneras, escribir para banda es bastante más, bueno, no es que sea más interesante, pero tiene unos recursos instrumentales y tímbricos muy especiales. También la orquesta los tiene, sin duda, pero obliga a hacer una especie de transposición mental de lo que es la sonoridad de la orquesta, que yo es la que habitualmente escucho, a lo que es la sonoridad de la banda, que es una sonoridad donde los metales tienen una importancia mucho más espectacular y mucho más definida.
It's really funny that you say this, because on our second talk with composer Oscar Navarro, we were actually talking very much about this process of conceiving a piece that might be originally made for orchestra and then transcribing it or rearranging it for wind ensemble, or vice versa. So it's absolutely fascinating that you also talk about this topic as a composer yourself as well. And also I completely agree. The saxophone soloist is wonderful, and he really we could only hear a snippet of it today, but he can definitely command the different saxophone instruments very, very well. If we move ahead a little bit into our conversation, the other day we were talking about how next December, if COVID allows, knock on wood, allows for it, you will premiere a piece with the Navarra Symphony Orchestra in Pamplona, which takes inspiration and sometimes literal quotes from the symphonies of Beethoven. How was the compositional process for this piece? Did you feel any pressure having to compare yourself with arguably one of the greatest composers who has ever lived in our genre of classical music?
Yes. Soy un gran admirador de la música de Beethoven, al que considero uno de los referentes obligados para cualquier músico. Y en este aniversario no podía por menos que dedicar una composición orquestal a la obra beethoveniana, como no, glosando algunas de sus sinfonías. Para ello elegí mis preferidas, que son las impares precisamente, la primera, la tercera, la quinta, la séptima y la novena. Y sobre sus temas principales versa mi composición a modo de paráfrasis. La orquestación es algo más amplia en cuanto a plantilla instrumental, ya que en ella incluyo arpa, pícolo, corno inglés, trombón bajo, tuba y algunos instrumentos de percusión, entre ellos los de láminas, pero la temática e incluso el tratamiento rítmico responden precisamente al modelo beethoveniano. Evidentemente, parafrasear a Beethoven implica una gran responsabilidad, sobre todo si mi obra va a ser el día de su estreno un preludio de la interpretación de la novena sinfonía. Y es por eso por lo que he puesto un especial cuidado en la orquestación y en la estructura general de mis imágenes de Beethoven, que es el título de mi composición. También la he subtitulado Capricho Sinfónico, pues es el subtítulo que me ha parecido que más se adecua a mi intención. en realidad es glosar las sinfonías impares de Beethoven. Ahora, por supuesto, alguno me podría decir que debería hacer una segunda imagen de Beethoven con las sinfonías pares, pero eso es un trabajo que posiblemente lo comience el año que viene.
I think most people will certainly think that the odd symphonies of Beethoven are really the best ones or their preferred ones. But I also must say that I very much like number 8, La Número 8. I think it's very, very beautiful, the classical symphony, because it really takes us to a completely different type of Beethoven, very late Beethoven that seems to have a look back to the past, and I really find it very beautiful and quite cute. Not like anything that he was composing at the time, but I agree with you, and I'm sure it will be a great success. Hopefully, I might even be able to be there when it happens. Who knows? And I'm sure it will be a great success. Koldo, today we're talking about the 7 popular songs by Manuel De Falla, who perhaps is Spain's most famous composer, not just in our country, but also abroad. Why do you think that Falla has become the ambassador of Spanish music worldwide?
Manuel de Falla, al que por cierto se le asimila al llamado neoclasicismo en algunas de sus obras, representa sin duda el cénit de la música española de principios del siglo XX. Realmente su origen gaditano y su cultura condicionaron e inspiraron obviamente la obra musical, obra que trasciende la corriente llamada andalucismo para convertirse en una música universal. Su paso por Madrid primero y posteriormente por París y su contacto con la corriente impresionista dejaron una huella importante en su trabajo, el cual tiene unas características tan originales y personales que lo distinguen del resto de sus coetáneos. Aunque sea un reduccionismo evidente, me gusta comentar también que en el ámbito internacional se entiende por música española la relacionada o inspirada en el arte flamenco y sus derivaciones, y ello también ha contribuido a la valoración de la música de autores como Falla, Albéniz, Turina o Granados, al menos en el ámbito de la llamada música culta, y a ellos se les considera como los representantes genuinos de dicha música en las esferas internacionales musicales.
And it's really funny that you also, well, not funny, it's very good that you mentioned this, because a couple of weeks ago we had the world premiere of Santiago Lanchares in Patience, and he was though he wasn't able to be with us live. We spoke earlier before the interview, the streaming on the phone, and he was telling me very much how the influences for that piece had a lot to do with trying to reivindicate the influences in Spanish music from other traditions like Persian, Arabic influences of the music, which I think very much we owe a great deal of gratitude to those influences in the music that people like Falla, Albéniz, like you mentioned, have went on to compose hundreds of years later. So it's good to see that you very much agree with Santiago Lanchares. And I encourage the audience, if you didn't get a chance to watch this talk live, you can still see it on our YouTube channel of Orchestra Vitae. So please have a look, or through the website of the embassy, which I'm just about to put right this second into our board, so you can follow all of the talks that we have been doing so far there as well. Koldo, tell us a little bit about the 7 popular songs, how they were conceived, why Falla chose these type of songs from different parts of the Spanish geography, and so on. Tell us a little bit about them.
La producción liederística de Manuel de Falla no es especialmente extensa, pues se limita a 3 ciclos breves de canciones y algunas más sueltas, pero eso no es óbice para considerar la importancia de sus composiciones para voz y piano. Comparando con compositores de su época, los hubo bastante más pródigos a la hora de escribir canciones y de escribir lied. Pero Manuel de Falla pues compuso poco, pero de una enorme calidad. De estas, las más importantes y de mayor trascendencia han sido sin duda el ciclo de las 7 canciones, así como también han resultado, por cierto, las más orquestadas y adaptadas a instrumentos diferentes. Las canciones se crearon a sugerencia de una artista malagueña que residía en París y que cantaba, por lo visto, en la ópera cómica de París. Y ella le pidió el arreglo de algunas canciones populares. Falla aceptó la sugerencia y eligió 7 melodías populares representativas de diversas regiones españolas, al igual que lo hicieron también otros autores españoles de su época, en un interés por dar una visión amplia del variado y rico folclore español. Posiblemente la elección se hizo después de consultar documentos sobre música popular española y elegir los que quizá le parecieron más característicos, y así determinó trabajar sobre estas 7 canciones, que son El paño moruno, Seguidilla murciana, Asturiana, Jota, Nana, Canción y Polo. Todas ellas versan sobre temas amatorios, pero bueno, como por otra parte suele ser común en la canción popular. Es muy significativo anotar que el mismo autor confesara que su trabajo armónico se basa en las características armónicas de la guitarra, que por cierto es el instrumento rey de la música andalusí, de la música tópicamente llamada española. Y dice al respecto lo siguiente: los efectos armónicos que inconscientemente producen nuestros guitarristas representan una de las maravillas del arte natural, puesto que rasgueando las cuerdas solo acordes pueden producirse. Y él decía, acordes bárbaros, dirán muchos, revelación maravillosa de posibilidades sonoras jamás sospechadas, afirmamos nosotros. Ciertamente hay que reconocer que la guitarra imprime carácter a esta música y además efectivamente produce una serie de armonías no convencionales dentro de lo que se entiende por armonía clásica o armonía, vamos a llamar, convencional, que se estudia en los conservatorios. Evidentemente, además, hay que decir que la mayoría de los guitarristas son guitarristas que han aprendido y se han introducido en el instrumento de forma absolutamente autodidacta. O sea que sin ninguna formación musical son capaces de conseguir unos efectos maravillosos y unas melodías con unas características y una personalidad fuera de lo común.
How appropriate, Koldo, that you mentioned all of this about the guitar, because I know for a fact that the guitar was your first instrument growing up. That's your just like the French horn. It was my original instrument. The guitar was your original instrument, and as a matter of fact, I wanted to show our audience before I ask you what you like most about these pieces. I wanted to show them one of your own pieces for solo guitar, which is called Gaueco Suite, which is the nocturnal suite, and I think it's also a very great example of writing for a solo instrument. So this is for everyone, the Gaueco Suite by Koldo Pastor. I hope that you enjoy, and we will continue our conversation with Koldo after we listen to this piece. Absolutely amazing, Koldo. It's always such a treat to listen to your music, and you know very well, and now the audience knows that how much I like the way that you write for the orchestra, for solo instruments, for any ensemble. I really like your style. It's very authentic, very unique to you, and it's always a treat to listen. So thank you for sharing these clips of your music. Before we wrap up the conversation today, I wanted to ask you, what is the part about the seven popular songs that you like most? What is your favorite part about it, the thing that you like most about them?
En primer lugar, de estas canciones yo diría que a pesar de proceder de diferentes lugares de España, aunque la mayor parte sean de origen andaluz, presentan una más que notable unidad de conjunto. Incluso se podría decir que una intención cíclica, tanto por la elección de las tonalidades, la alternancia mayor-menor, la temática, que es tema amoroso, y la escritura para una misma voz, siempre en un ámbito reducido como corresponde a la canción popular. Destacable es el tratamiento pianístico y rítmico que, realizado con una gran maestría, no se limita solo al acompañamiento de la voz, sino que establece una paridad discursiva en el diálogo con la voz y al mismo tiempo mostrando una originalidad excepcional. Esto, desde luego, las hace muy atractivas para el orquestador moderno y es por ello que han sido orquestadas por músicos diversos, como es el caso de Luciano Berio o Ernesto Halffter, y a su vez transcritas para guitarra o instrumentos solistas como violín por el mismo Falla o el violonchelo, entre otros. De esto hay cumplida información y posibilidades de escucha en YouTube, por ejemplo, porque están unas cuantas versiones muy interesantes y por grandes músicos.
I'm very glad that you mentioned that these pieces, which were originally conceived for voice, have been arranged for other ensembles, for other instruments like the cello, violin, even guitar. And as a matter of fact, today our audience will get to enjoy a couple of our players from Orchestra Vitae performing the version for violin and piano, because we wanted to make sure, as you know, that these conversations have the musicians from the orchestra as a very much an active part of it, because after all, they are organized. These talks are organized by Orchestra Vitae. So, Koldo, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. We really thank you from Orchestra Vitae for taking the time to answer some questions about these seven popular songs, for opening up your world of composition and your music world and your views about composition to us and to the audience. And I very much hope that I get to see you in person sooner than later. So please stay well, stay safe, and thank you again. Take care.
Es un placer, bueno, ha sido un gran placer conversar contigo, no solamente por tu amistad, sino por tus conocimientos musicales y porque aportar mi grano de arena en algunas consideraciones sobre la música española, pues siempre es de gran satisfacción para mí como compositor. Así que muchas gracias.
You certainly have given much more than just a little pinch of, like we say in Spanish, a grain of rice. You've given plenty, a whole paella, I would say. Thank you, Koldo. Take care.
Thank you.
This was the interview that I conducted a couple of days ago with composer Koldo Pastor. I hope that you enjoyed. For me, it's always an absolute treat to talk to him and have an opportunity to dig and to take a little bit of that well of wisdom that Koldo Pastor is. And I really hope that you also enjoy his music as much as I do. As we said at the end of this conversation, it is now time to hear the recording that some of the members of Orchestra Vitae put together of the seven popular songs. And this is a very interesting duo formed by Anna Brigham and Brendan Musk. is called the Lantivet duo. And I wanted to give you a couple of touches of their biography. The Lantivet duo is a very exciting new ensemble with a unique sound blending folk and classical music. Anna and Brendan are a couple based in London, but hail from Cornwall and Scotland respectively. They're influenced by their Celtic roots, their classical training, and their love of music from around the world. Since the COVID-19 crisis, Anna and Brendan found they had a lot of time to feel together, like a lot of us have found out. So they decided to start their own live stream concert series. So far, they have raised over £3,500 for charity, which is absolutely awesome. So congratulations to you both. And they will soon be announcing their autumn season with a different special guest joining them each month. You're not going to get to see this folk Celtic side of them. You're going to be listening to now Manuel De Falla's 7 popular songs performed by Anna Brigham and Brendan Musk. I hope that you enjoy. That was the 7 popular songs by Manuel De Falla, performed by Anna Brigham and Brendan Musk. Thank you so much for performing so beautifully for this Between Chords talk today. And we've come to the end. Next week, we will be talking with soprano Laura Ruiz about the wonderful world of zarzuela. Those of you that don't know what zarzuela is is the Spanish operatic genre, but with some differences that, of course, we will learn next week. As always, I want to thank hugely the team from Orchestra Vitae that helps putting these talks together, as well as, of course, the Embassy of Spain in London for their tremendous support with this initiative of Orchestra Vitae. My name is Pablo Urbina, and it has been my absolute pleasure hosting this 5th talk. We still have 2 more to go, so stay tuned for details. You can always follow the latest talks on the Spain Culture and Science website or on Orchestra Vitae's different channels. So we really hope to see you there. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting you all, and I wish you a very lovely evening. Thank you and goodbye.